Hi everyone, this is Penguin Trades, and this is a review for the ES and NQ futures for September 17th. We're going to start off on the ES and then hop over to the NQ as always. And so, starting off, this is our overnight high, this is our overnight low, these are our key levels for the day, and I started trading at 8 Central Time, which is this area right here. So we have this uptrend, which has a break and a new high, and this is how trends play out. After a break, you can expect price to attempt a new extreme. We have it here, and so this trend is considered played out. It's very common to get two legs to a new high, even if the first leg already makes the new high. However, it got very choppy here. It kind of looks like you got that attempt right there, but it's really all within this chop. And then here is a little bit more of a significant attempt because it actually breaks away, and you get some separation, from this chop right here, and then we actually break out of that previous resistance level. So uptrend, break, first attempt higher, and then it kind of just went sideways, and then you get your second attempt higher before reversing on down. And so the uptrend is played out. We're at the overnight high. There's very clear support forming here. We're going into this range. Again, I started trading right here at 8 a.m., and we push on lower. This is just a first entry coming off the overnight high. You don't want to enter long on that because when you come off a key level, you want to see two attempts to the other side. You want to see you need to see a second entry, not just a first entry. And for anyone wondering about this tick higher right there, and then they might say first entry long, second entry long, I just view this as one leg down. It's really, one push lower. It all fits neatly within a single channel here. I want to see a clear two-legged move with a clear separation, not just a tick higher there. And so anyway, nothing there for a long. We push on up, we make that next attempt higher, and then as soon as we break out, we immediately start pushing back lower. So when you come off of an overnight high, this is a common reversal area, so it's not surprising we get a very bearish reaction like that. Now we get this push lower here. We immediately start finding support off of this range low right here. We push through it a little bit, immediately push back above, and then price really struggles to get back below. We start forming this, kind of a little bit sideways here, but you can still see what's going on. So this push down, even though it's a small push down, it's still a downtrend. So you have downtrend, and then you see these two pushes back. This is your two-legged break. So downtrend, two-legged break, and then this attempt at a new low right here, which can't even get below this, support right here. And so basically from here, we have a swing here, a swing here, and a swing here. It's pretty sideways. It's not very, it's not the cleanest, but you can still see what's going on. You can still read through the chop. You have a downtrend, two-legged break, attempt at a new low, making a triple bottom at this low right here. So I hope you can see what I'm saying here, even though it's a little bit sideways, how you have, this is still a downtrend, and, it's just smaller picture. Everything that you can see on a bigger picture applies to a smaller picture, but I do understand how it can be harder to see. And so anyway, we have only one attempt at a new low right here, but this support is just way too strong to ignore, not to mention, this right here that's forming, basically making a triple bottom from this reversal attempt. So clearly price is not wanting to reverse down here. We push up out of this STT right here, closing above the EMA, good bullish bar, stop below right here. So that's why I like that trade right here. Even though we just tried to reverse off of this overnight high, price was clearly not wanting to reverse. And so anyway, we push on up here as soon as price reaches that overnight high right there. This is a one tick limit order, as you can see. If you'd use a stop, you still would be fine, but as you can see, you barely got filled if you entered with a stop. This is why if you have a clear support level or a clear resistance level, you want to try to keep your target within it, and there's no shame in using a limit order. So anyway, we push on lower here. We get this sharp push down right off the overnight high. You can kind of see it looks like a two-legged move down from here, but this is where we really get the breakout from. So oftentimes, if you have a two-legged move, if the first leg is still stuck within a larger structure, then you'll often get a second leg stemming from the breakout leg. So this leg is breaking out from this structure here, so it's common to get a two-legged move down from here because this is the breakout. However, in this case here, price just spikes back up, form a swing here. This is a sign of a bullish imbalance because we're unable to get to the other side of the overnight range. When you come off one side, you can expect price to try to reach the other side, but in this case here, we just form a swing and start pushing on higher. So we get this push up. You can see we have uptrend, break, new high. Now at first, I didn't have this channel here. Sorry, I'm trying to move that. At first, what I had was from this low, and I tried drawing this just to see how price would hold, and we push on up. We get only one clear attempt to fade. Now, when you push out of an overnight level or a range level, you probably know price tends to try to fade back in. You don't want to just buy the breakout because you're getting a bullish bar pushing out. You want to wait for 2 attempts to fade so you can enter long on the fade failure. That's how you safely buy a breakout. But in this case here, we push on up, we get this new high, and we only have 1 attempt to fade. And so that's not an enterable trade right there. You can't take that safely. And so you push on up here, we make a double top, another push lower, held up at the EMA, just the first entry. So really just nothing to take over here. Now here, you can see that there's 2 legs down because there's a separation with this green bar right here, but it's still 1 leg down on a slightly bigger picture. So I don't view this as a clear 2-legged move just because we have this tiny separation and you can kind of see there's 2 legs there. This is just 1 leg down. Entering, if you enter that, you're entering into that trend line. Even though there's an overshoot right there, you really want to see 2 attempts lower here. Now, even though we have an overshoot, overshoots tend to lead to breaks. This trend line didn't quite hold, even though it pushes back above here. Again, at that point, there's no room to this trend line right here. So it's just not worth entering on. It's just too risky. But anyway, we push on up here. We have a new high for the day, and then price just plummets on lower. So we push on lower here, fade the overnight low, and then this channel starts to form. These highs are fitting very well, and then this bounce matches up right along here with these highs. So we clearly have this channel. It's clearly a valid channel that's forming. And so I'm going to unclutter just a little bit. I tend to do that when I'm trading myself just to, get rid of the out of play channels so it cleans up the chart a bit. And so we have this channel forming up here. I'm going to make it a different color real quick. All right, there we go. So we push on up. Now at this point here, when we're pushing up here, we can look to continue long with this channel. If we push up, get a couple legs back, find a long holding off the other side of the overnight high. But we just need to make sure it's confluent with this downtrend, which is why a failed second entry would be perfect. Because if you get a push up, 2 legs down, those 2 legs down would be the 2 attempts at a new low for this downtrend right here. And so you'd be able to get in on the, that failure along with, continuing with this very clear uptrend. So that's why I'd like to see a failed second entry holding above the overnight high here. But obviously, as you can see, that doesn't happen. Instead, when price starts pushing up, it struggles to stay above. And so you get this 2-legged move up. From this high here, this is technically a failed second entry. So you have first entry long, second entry long, and then failure right there. So failed second entry, but you're right into this trend line right here. And also it's not like it was holding off of the overnight high, to the low side very well anyway. So not a good trade here, right into that support right there. And, it does struggle to get through it. It does push on lower, but it really does struggle at first. So anyway, we push on lower here. This uptrend now has a break. When an uptrend gets a break, as I explained, you can expect price to attempt a new high. And so, when we reach this measured move down here, I'm thinking, okay, we could push off of it, get another, push up, a couple legs back, get an entry to make a new high, possibly push above the overnight high, and then get a retest on top. But it ends up just pushing straight through. And when price pushes through a measured move level, what's common to happen is if you can retest on the low side of it, you can look to get a short and continue down. Now, in this case here, it doesn't quite set up well enough. We do get 2 attempts to reverse here. So it didn't quite reach this measured move, but if it had, then, that would be very ideal for, continuing down here. Because measured move levels, if price pushes through them and you retest the other side, that's a perfect place to continue the trend down. But in this case here, we have this channel forming. So we have this channel here, price overshot, overshoots tend to lead to breaks, and we get 2 attempts to reverse here. So there's all sorts of reasons that price wants to reverse here. This measured move, which acts as a magnet, and, the overshoot, which tends to lead to breaks. And so there's good reason to reverse here. So if we get 2 attempts, we can look for a short. But it ends up just closing within this STT and this trend line right here. It's overall just not a super clean area. Because it can tick lower here and then hold right off this trend line because, this channel is still in play. Even though it had an overshoot, it's still in play. This low can still be active. It can price can struggle to get through it, and that's not good to combine with STT. And so I didn't like that here. Even when we get this bar here, it's closing out of that STT, but it's still above the lower trend line, which is the main concern anyway. And so nothing here. At this point, you're just entering too low. And so I don't like any shorts here. We continue on lower here. We break out of the overnight low and also overshoot this wider downtrend. These highs were fitting with these lows pretty well. We clearly have this downtrend in play, and price overshoots it. Overshoots, like I was just explaining for here, tend to lead to breaks. This immediately led into a two-legged move up, just like over here, except this time price is actually reacting off of the opposite trend line. And so, excuse me. So we have this two-legged move up here. Let me draw this up. There we go. So two-legged move up. When price breaks out of the overnight low, you want to see two attempts to fade before buying the breakout, or in this case, shorting the breakout, but we only get one attempt up reaching the overnight low. So what I'd like to see is two legs up to that point, just immediately to get a short, but we get one attempt up, get a correction, gets a little bit choppy, and then on the second leg up, we're already fading back in, finding resistance at this trend line right here. Now, obviously, you do not want to enter short directly into the overnight low, and so there's no good trade here, even though it's at a measured move and the trend line. So, maybe price can push off. We'll see what wins out. Because it's this measured move and the downtrend is what the bears are rooting for, but the bulls are rooting to continue the fade up. So it's kind of just a competition area here. We'll see what price ends up going with, and we could push up into a failed second entry that holds above this measured move level, in which case we would immediately want to start looking for a long and also a wider channel. So we'll see what happens. If we get the failed second entry, that would obviously lead to an overshoot, and if we get our two attempts back, then we'll have our two attempts to reverse, again, making it safe to go long. So anyway, I'm going to hop over to the NQ now. That's it for the ES. So here's the NQ. Again, overnight high, overnight low, key levels for the day. I started trading at 8 Central Time, which is this area right here, and so we have uptrend, break, push up to a new high, so this uptrend is now considered played out. Now, it's not as choppy. I mean, it's kind of choppy, but it's not as straight sideways as the ES was at first. You can still see there's a little bit more clear legs, and we have this channel going up. And so, but either way, the uptrend has a break and a new high. We're forming the overnight high, and that's a common reversal area. We get a sharp push lower, and this is a perfect place for a failed second entry. So if we push lower here and get a couple legs back, that would include the two attempts at a new high for this uptrend right here, which means that we would have confluence from the reversal pattern with the uptrend play out. And so, as you can see, we don't get a clear reversal pattern. Price just pushes lower, we get a small break, push to a new low, and then a reversal attempt. What this is really forming is just one push down, a break, this little reversal here. You can see there's two legs up, and that reversal is really just forming the bigger picture break. And so, downtrend, break, push to a new low. Price was holding above the EMA too well to enter short on, not to mention, with these two legs, it's not a super good two legs. It really just looks like one leg up. So considering that and the fact it's holding above the EMA and getting sideways, I did not like going short there on that retest. So anyway, it does push into a second leg down. We have these two legs down here. As soon as that measured move is met, price starts pushing on higher here, and we go into this new uptrend. So we have this trend up, breaking this downtrend right here, retesting the overnight high, and I just want to show, as we push up here, it's a little bit more clear to see that this push up and these two legs back are forming a big picture failed second entry. And so, like I mentioned, this uptrend had a break and a new high, but it also formed this uptrend at the same time. On a bigger picture, you can still clearly tell that this is all part of one trend. So this is what you have to be able to spot in real time, combining structures together, noticing the bigger picture structures, and that's what we have here. We have first entry short, second entry short, failure. So this is a big picture, failed second entry, and it takes off from there. There's no clear entry because there wasn't any clear support. The measured move didn't even act as perfect support because it did get, it did push lower than it before pushing higher. And so, not a perfect place for a long, exactly. It's a good place to look for a long, but it just doesn't set up well. And so, nothing here. Higher low directly into the trend line. Obviously, you don't want to take that. We continue on higher. And now we're clearly making the first big picture attempt at a new high. So you have uptrend, two-legged break, and then first attempt higher. And then after that first attempt higher, it stalls at the overnight high, and we get another two-legged break. Now, before we go into this two-legged break here, I want to go into this smaller two-legged break right here. So at first, before we even had this, price had formed this right here, these two legs down. Now, from here, yes, from here, you have first entry short, second entry short, failure. This is technically a failed second entry. However, it's just not, it doesn't set up perfectly because you're not off of clear support. It does react right off that measured move right here, but you're into the EMA, and right above the EMA is the overnight high, which you'd have to be entering right into. So it's just not a perfect area to enter long, even though you have a failed second entry with a larger measured move in play. You just need to wait on something better, especially because, it's just right into the overnight high. I think, I already mentioned that, but it's directly into the overnight high, and you just don't have enough room, and you don't want to enter below the EMA either, especially when you're not off of clear support, because, even though it has a good reaction to that measured move, it's not the same as a, proven support level. And so you don't want to enter long right there. But after price retests the overnight high one more time, price plummets on down again, and then this is where you have to start combining structures to see the bigger picture. These two legs turn into one leg. Now, if you have a two-legged move down and price is attempting to push on up to make a new high for an uptrend, and it fails to do so, that failure is going to make, that's going to make you need to combine the structures. And so if price had continued higher, then that would be it. The uptrend would be played out. It would have a break in a new high, but since it hasn't made the new high yet, this uptrend still needs to play out. It's still technically in play, and as we push below this previous swing, that's when we get our larger two-legged break. And so what we have here is this large measured move in play. The red measured move is still in play, and we have a big picture failed second entry. So I'm going to remove that for a sec just so it's easier to see. First entry short, second entry short. This is the failure entry, holding off this trend line perfectly with room to this overnight high right here. So that's why, sometimes you just got to be a little patient. This can look tempting right here, but it's just not quite good enough. Even though here in this case it works, doesn't mean it's going to work out next time. Just be a little patient, and sometimes you'll get your bigger picture entry very soon after. And so that's why I like that there. Failed second entry with a larger measured move in play. Basically a continuation of this larger failed second entry from right there. And so anyway, we push on out here. We make a new high. This uptrend now has a break and two legs up to a new high, making it considered played out. The measured move is still in play, so if price ends up holding on to the overnight high, then you want to look to get long to continue up there, but in this case, we don't get two attempts to fade holding off the high. It ends up just fading on in. So we push on lower here, we break this trend line, and then we get a couple legs back. Now, some people might want to go short here on a failed second entry because, as you can see, you have these two legs back. So downtrend, two legs back, first entry long, second entry long, failure. But it's really just in a very iffy area, combined with the fact that these legs really could be a little more separated. You don't want to enter short directly into this trend line, even though it's broken. And when price pierces through and forms a new swing, yes, you can look to extend the trend line to that swing. However, you still have to wait for the swing to form. In this case here, after it, pierces through, we get a couple pushes up. We're still making that push up there. And, this level right here can still easily be in play. And so I don't want to go short directly into it right there. We're also still in this channel here because, again, these legs weren't very separated. It really is one leg on a bigger picture. And we push on lower, and we have a second leg down just without a clear entry. So it was just too thin. These legs were too thin with each other into this support. It's really just a little bit of a messy area, not a perfect place for a short. And so anyway, I skipped it there. We continue on lower. I don't like this lower high because, it didn't stem from necessarily a very good entry. I would have wanted to see a larger leg, more like a more separated break. That way it forms a failed second entry from right here, first entry long, second entry long, and then failure up here. And that's what ends up happening right here. So we push lower here. Downtrend technically does have a new low, but price ends up reacting with this trend line, getting very bearish. We can still look to get in on the second leg at a new low. So downtrend, break, first attempt lower, made a new low / double bottom. Sometimes it can be hard to tell, even with the bodies, clearly it made a new low, but sometimes that's not enough for it to reverse on higher. We get 2 legs up here. Let me put that back. So, oh, I accidentally messed it up. There we go. So we get 2 legs up here. First entry long, second entry long, failure off this trend line right here. Bearish bar pushing below the EMA. We have room to these lows here. These lows, I know there's not like clear, tests on that level perfectly, but with the way that price action was moving today, the EMA right in the center of this range, these lows seemed appropriate from this swing right there. Price had pushed lower there, and this just seemed generally about where the lows were, even though there wasn't much actual tests on that level. And so anyway, again, pushing off the overnight high here, downtrend, break, first attempt lower. This is our entry on the second attempt lower with these 2 legs back, holding off this trend line. Big picture, failed second entry, perfect reversal area. So that's why I like this trade here. We push on lower, go straight through that measured move right here, and then price starts pushing up as soon as it reaches the overnight low. Now, we have this channel here. At first, I had this low right there. Price overshot, but I did extend it to here just to see how it holds. And, it is fitting pretty well here. Ends up testing it again. Now, we don't get a clear short here. Now, some people will want to go short because we have this measured move here. If you get a couple legs up, you can look to go short off of it and continue lower. But we have to consider, we just came off of a major key level, the overnight low, and we need to see 2 very clear attempts up, and all we get is this, inside of this little channel here. You can see there's 2 legs up there, obviously blocked by this channel, nothing clear. I want to see 2 bigger picture legs retesting this measured move level, or retesting this retesting this range level or trend line right there. So we don't get either of that here. We just continue on lower, and we retest the trend line again, slight overshoot, and we get these 2 legs higher. So I was not trading during the second leg up here, so here's what we have. Uptrend, break, first attempt higher, second attempt higher, and that pushes us up to a new high. That second leg clearly stems from right there. Perfect measured move. It's barely not off that trend line right there. Let me draw this out here. And so there's that. So we have this up here, 2 legs up. If we had gotten something that just has room to this trend line right here, then I would have loved to go short. But I really do want to see price retest that. It's very close to that trend line. Even if we get something that isn't quite off of it, if we have a perfect reaction to this measured move and this upper trend line right here, we can still look to get short. We just need room to this other side. So this looks like a decent limit order trade because obviously with a stop entry, I'll just draw it out so you can see. With a stop entry, you'd obviously have to push it through this trend line and the overnight low. So not ideal. This is definitely a limit order trade, or if you don't want to take a limit order trade, just wait for a smaller entry. But there's no shame in taking limit order trades if you need it. It's just that price isn't always going to come back and fill you, which, as you can see here, price does not come back and fill you. So anyway, I kind of wish I was around for that. It probably happened just while I was making this video. Yeah, I'll right at 12:30 there. So anyway, that's going to do it for this video. Hope it helped out. If you like the video, like it, subscribe, and thanks for watching. I'll see y'all next time.